Welcome to Airway Exchange, the podcast for empowering educators and inspiring future CRNAs, a new series of Beyond the Mask supported by AANA.
We're your host team. I'm Greg Collins.
I'm Nikki D'Amico.
I'm Erin Martin.
And I'm Louisa Martin. We're here to support the community of CRNA educators with conversations to explore, learn, and grow.
To pursue excellence in the evolving field of nurse anesthesia education.
And to champion our students and enrich the future of the profession.
This is Airway Exchange. Welcome back to Airway Exchange. This is one of your hosts, Nikki D'Amico, and I am joined today by my co-host, Greg Collins.
Hi, Nikki.
The topic today, artificial intelligence. And to talk on this topic, we've invited, and I'm thrilled to have with us today, Dr. Jiale, or Gary who is one of our associate professors at VCU, currently the Director of Research and Global Outreach in the Department of Nurse Anesthesia. He previously served, and where I first met him was when he was working as an anesthesia nurse and executive director of nursing research in China at the Shanghai 9th People's Hospital. His scholarship focuses on enhancing knowledge translation in healthcare environments, with a lot of his current projects encompassing AI integration in healthcare, education, and research domains, evidence-based implementation and healthcare education and research, evidence implementation context and complexity, precision pain assessment and care, and global collaboration in nurse anesthesia education. He is a prolific writer and has written on a variety of topics, and also a frequent speaker at a lot of our ANA meetings on the topic of artificial intelligence. So I'm thrilled to have you here with us today, and welcome.
Gary, thanks for being here. I did attend your presentation, and I'll tell you, the room was full. I think that showed you the appetite that we have as nurse anesthesia educators for AI and for topics related to that. Although I want to get to know a little bit more about you, that was a wonderful introduction. Obviously, you know Nikki pretty well. Tell me, you're kind of an outlier in nurse anesthesia education. So tell me how you ended up where you are.
Yes, it's actually a journey starting from the collaboration with the VCU. So at that time, we started to create the nurse anesthesia education in China. And luckily, Dr. Falcaro reached out to us and to provide the support. So actually, I have had a collaboration with the VCU for more than 15 years.
Great.
So we developed the first international recognized nurse anesthesia education program in China. That's kind of the beginning part. And I will say the motivation I have, why I want to, leave my job at that time in Shanghai and to start my PhD journey is from Nikki. She did the PhD at that time. I think when I come to VCU 2013, you are in the PhD.
That's
and
great.
2015, you finish your PhD, and I feel, wow, it's great. And I love to hear all of the stories, even some of the struggles.
A lot of struggles.
Yeah, one day we visited VCU, so we went to Snowshoe Mountain for our NAFA education meeting. She brought a heavy book in the car to read for the PhD work. So I'm impressed by the PhD. I think it will be a good direction for me. So I went to University of Ottawa to start my PhD in nursing. So my research project is about the implementation science and also pain assessment in nonverbal patients, like the patients receiving anesthesia. So I did the population in the mechanically ventilated infants. I design and evaluate the innovative tool. It's called a skin conductance. We put the electrodes on baby's palm to collect all of the electrodermal activities to assess pain.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's kind of the journey. And then after my graduation, I'm glad to receive the offer and to come to VCU to be a faculty member.
Great. And we talked a little bit before we started recording about what you're doing currently at VCU. Kind of tell us that.
Oh, yes. So now I'm a faculty member. I continue my research project about the pain assessment in the patients. But because of the new technology, the AI, I think, and everyone, I think you remember the time, 2022, November, OpenAI launched the first version of the ChatGPT. How it changed how we, work with the computers. It's a big change, and it's totally different technology. So at that time, I feel I need to integrate these in my research projects and use it more for my daily life, work, teaching, and also learning.
Good. Has that been a process, or did you immediately bring that into your daily life and into your teaching style and methods?
Yes. It's kind of the gradual growth and also a learning process. Definitely, it's not like immediately put everything in application. It's a gradual learning process. And also the technology changes so fast. If you look at the technology today and compared to even that big change 3 years ago, it's already totally different. It's totally different. Now AI can not only process the text, but also images, music, artwork, and also maybe the videos, and all of the data, qualitative data, quantitative data. So it's become so powerful, but also like they give us a lot of functions, but also bring a lot of risks. So that's why one of my research projects and also the teaching activities in our department is to provide the AI literacy training to the students, because that will be a very, very important skill for anesthesia students and also for all the healthcare professional students.
For every human being at this point, too, I think, right? I think it's so ubiquitous at this point. That's going to be a human nature skill that we have to acquire.
Yes. With this new technology, it's kind of when we have a car, so that would be a necessary skill for us. So,
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah, indeed.
I would love to not have to drive anymore. Have something do the driving for me, mostly so I can squeeze in more work, typically. I'd love it if you would talk a little bit about how important you think it is that we have had institutional support. I'm familiar, obviously, we're at the same institution, and I think my impression is it has been everything, that we had immediate endorsement by our institution. Not everybody has that same, so I'd love if you would speak about that. And you've talked to a lot of people at ANA meetings and who may reach out to you. So as you've entered the space and talked with more nurse anesthetists, does that change? I mean, has that reinforced what you think about how important institutional support is?
Yes, definitely. I think institutional support is great. And it's without the support, it's kind of set up already a boundary for you. So it's very challenging for you to explore different opportunities. So I feel I'm lucky. I work for the VCU, Department of Nurse Anesthesia. So our VCU is very supportive. And at the beginning, when OpenAI launched the ChatGPT, our VCU had a leadership team meeting, and they put an announcement encourage students and faculty members to use generative AI. And it's great. It's given me the freedom to explore different opportunities and different applications using the AI, how AI can support us, our teaching and the students' learning. That's great. And also, I would say department support. From department chair, who is also a super user of the AI, and also from the team. And I think it's great to have different perspectives from the team. But they are very open. The supportive from them is not said, it's great, let's do that. It's about they will provide constructive feedback for any kind of the initiative we have. That's important. Even they don't agree something, it's great. It's great to learn different perspectives. This will help us to really think about how AI should be applied in the education, how AI should be used to support us, to empower us, rather than to replace us or rewrite our autonomy.
Well, that's good that you mentioned that. And Nikki, I appreciate you asking that question. And you have a unique perspective because of that. What would you suggest? I think when we did the previous podcast on AI, just with the hosts, we all had kind of different perspectives, different opinions, and there was a lot of fear and a lot of hesitation. And I think that may be due to lack of institutional buy-in and institutional support. Give me some ideas on how, if you're in an institution that's not completely bought in, that's not giving you that support, how, as a nurse anesthesia educator, can you kind of approach that or breach that barrier, if you will, to move it along and to make it a more useful tool?
Yeah, I would be surprised if there is still a university prevents the faculty members to use the generative AI to support their teaching. That would be a big surprise.
So maybe it's not the fact that they're preventing you from using it, but they're not supporting the use, or they're not, more than anything else. It sounds like you guys had a good guide or a good, even just somebody opened the door to that. Yeah. And maybe that door is not open at other institutions. Particularly, I think about smaller nurse anesthesia programs that are not affiliated with a big university or don't have that institutional academic a foundation.
Or licenses. I mean, it comes down
That's
to
a big
money.
one too,
the
right? I mean,
licenses
that's
to
a
have
huge
the software.
thing. Yeah,
it's expensive.
Yeah, there are a few things I think we can do with that kind of the condition. So the first is generative AI is a tool. So, and it's the good thing for that is it's a tool now because of the competition. So there are more than 29,000 companies creating the AI tools. And all of the big companies, we know their names like OpenAI, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Cloud. All of these, they are compete for the market. So all of them, and most of them are free for a very large number of the limits. So you can use it free, and you can switch from Gemini. If you finish the limits, you go to another one. There's no big difference for my perspectives. And the generative AI gave the opportunity for everyone to use their kind of the capability or their technology, because you don't have to have a computer scientist or the person who have the coding capability to work with you to create some app. So for example, if you have a need, if you want to create some teaching aid for the student, you can put your needs into a generative AI and create that tool for your students. Definitely, without the institution support, maybe the data you put into the generative AI might be limited. You need to be cautious about the privacy, data security, but there are so many other open access resources there. So for example, I'm kind of learning the cardiovascular system myself. I try to refresh my memory on these. So the textbooks from maybe my university courses, from all the courses, they are the textbooks copyrighted, protected. So I cannot put them into even the VCU license in Google Gemini, because it's the copyrights, the intellectual property. But physiology, anatomy, pathophysiology, pharmacology, all of those books have the open access resources in the library. And it's free, it's available, and you can use it in any way you want. And they are not copyright protected. If they want to, they welcome you to use it, especially for the personal education use. So I can put all of these into the Gemini, and when I learn cardiovascular system, I want to learn from anatomy to the physiology, to the pathophysiology, to the pharmacology together. So in the traditional way, how could I do that? I have all the books. I need to, find the pages and read through all of these books.
You're personalizing it now by putting it in there.
Yes,
and really,
it's my personalized kind of the learning partner or assistant. It's very helpful. It's kind of new. I designed a course for myself.
That's great. I think you mentioned in your presentation about your kids doing research and then taking articles and translating those articles down. I can see that being a great thing.
Yes.
And I think you mentioned to a 5th grade level. That may be what we need at some point with what we're doing. But I think the ability to personalize it, like you mentioned, is great.
You brought up something, though, that I think is really important that a lot of folks don't know anything about. And you've done some other work not related to AI in this, and that is to create your own open access resources. So I think that's another thing to, kind of to add some context here. That's something that Gary has done a fair amount of, creating resources and then finding resources that we can make available to our students for free without concerns about copyright, their Creative Commons.
Yes, it's chemistry and physics. I didn't publish it in the open access library, but because when I teach the chemistry and physics for the nurse anesthesia, there are so many books. Nickel Hill, and also some published, but not each single one is comprehensive. So I found it's better I create my own textbook for my students, and because of the generative AI, so I can share this with the students if they have any questions. So I don't know whether you have this issue. So for our students, I receive the feedback. Some think this is too challenging, but some think it need more kind of the instructions or more information. So with the generative AI, they can actually make this textbook easier or more kind of the interactive, so they can get more information, help them to understand the content. But also in the other way, if they think it's too easy and they want to learn something more close to maybe the patho or for the anesthesia machine, and they want to learn more, they can use the general AI to coach them to do that. And they can share this, and that's a Google Doc, so it's open to the comments. So students will post what they want to learn, and they learn themselves further in the documents, so I can see what is the information they learn and whether it's good to put into the textbook.
You can see that on the backside.
I use Google Doc as a discussion board, so everyone can share what they learn or any kind of resources they find
great.
or any interaction they have with the generative AI. So they put there and the kind of the suggestion or they are sharing with other students. So I will integrate these into the next version to create a new version for the students.
And so it's ever evolving. I think
Yes,
that's kind of interesting.
yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Just a live document that keeps getting better and better and better.
That's cool. Yeah. And the students are driving that.
Yeah, and the students love it. And because some students really would like to share some of the information, how this might apply to anesthesia beyond our scope, but it's
Sure.
okay. And I will kind of direct it. It's not our exam, but it's great to know this and you get to prepare for your next course. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'm curious if you use to find new tools, because again, there are a lot of free AI tools, and there's new ones coming out every day. And I'm not paid. This is a disclaimer. I don't have any ties whatsoever to this. If it is a company, even there's an AI for that.
Which tool for?
It's called There's an AI
Oh,
for
really?
that. Yeah.
That's great.
And it's a database of all of these tools that people have made available, like custom transformers. They'll put these into there.
It's
and
a
then
newsletter, I guess.
It's open access. You can go in and there are some paid tools. It'll help you find paid versions of things, but then you can also prompt it to say, is there a free version or another version or something else similar to do that? And then you can just basically follow it with all of these different domains. Like, what are the types of functions? You will search it often by your area, cognitive science on AI, and then there'll be tools on that. And anyway.
Could I share one idea I have about general AI?
Oh, please.
Yes. There are so many applications related to general AI. But the unique part for the general AI actually is I can design an app based on my needs, and I don't have to use other applications. Especially these can be, completed in the, those large language models, Google Gemini, ChatGPT. So I found it really makes me as a designer. Some like the example, my kids do the math. I found references from the Kumon, which is kind of give the different levels of math skills you need to have. And I put these guidelines into the Google Gemini, create a Gemini kind of the assistant. Now, my kid will have this Gemini create 10 questions every day and do this. And if they can finish all correct, they will level up the math difficulty from 2 digits times 2 digits to maybe 3 digits times 2 digits and go to next level. So, and if they miss some questions, they will tell you where you miss and how you get improved. And if you miss a couple of times, they will give you some of the instruction and help you summarize what is the common mistakes you have. It's not from coding. Coding is, Python language, C language. We need maybe a few years to learn that. But it's all use my own language. It's just give all of the instructions. Sometimes I feel it's also the skill we already have, communication, and also the leadership. When you communicate with others and you kind of lead others to do some project, you want to have the specific instructions. You want to give all of the resources to support that task. You want to give all of the context, background, why we do this. And that's the information we'll give the general AI. And general AI can create an app for us. So that's why I feel I use more these large language models rather than a specific app.
There is rarely a meeting at which we will sit and talk about a problem that we had that Gary doesn't immediately click away on his computer, come up with something, and he's come up with some often AI-based solution to be able to address that. Things like the handbook. I mean, that was a pretty low-hanging fruit, but coming up with a custom GPT to direct students to our handbook. If you want to talk about that, that was one of the projects that kind of came out of that, over frustration at a meeting that students were not reading our graduate student handbook.
Yeah, faculty members receive a lot of emails, ask the questions they can easily find from the student handbook.
Of course, yes. I think that's ubiquitous.
Yeah, so I used at that time it's the ChatGPT because we do not have VCU licensed Gemini, so I used the ChatGPT, used the handbook as kind of the knowledge bank for the ChatGPT. So the action for the ChatGPT is all the time students ask the questions, you only use this knowledge bank, the handbook, to find the information. But not only provide the answers, provide the references, provide the page number, give the original document link, ask the student to verify. So that's a kind of the chatbot. Another tool, actually, I just recently developed, I share here in the hands-on workshop, is a prompt engineering assistant. So people might know their needs, but they don't know how to give all of these instructions. So this prompt engineering assistant is based on a framework, prompt engineering framework called the CARE, C-A-R-E, context, action, role, expectations. So anyone use this assistant, they put their needs in the prompt engineering assistant, and the prompt engineering assistant will assess your needs and see whether they need other information based on the CARE framework. They will continue to ask your questions, seek the information, then they will summarize and then create a prompt for you.
That's great. Because I think, as you mentioned, you talked about this is basically like having the ultimate executive assistant. You mentioned communicating with AI just as you would if we were working in a team. And Gary, I need you to do this. Nikki, I need you to do this. You're doing that with the large language model. I think it's that prompt writing that you've just brought up, and giving us a tool for that was very helpful. That's a concern that I have personally in my use with it in the classroom and as preparing for the classroom, but definitely a concern I think that our students have with it, and maybe more of a concern that we as faculty have on how our students are using it. How are they prompting it? How are they prompting it in order to generate less hallucination? How are they prompting it in order to give it the relevant information that we want them to know, for a course or for an exam or for something like that? And the CARE thing that you mentioned is fantastic. But just in terms of general language prompting, kind of give me take this down. I'm typing this into my Gary AI right now. I want you to take it down and explain it to me like I'm a fifth grader. Like, tell me about just the prompting language. I think that many of our listeners need it that basic.
Yes, it's the language, any language you want to use. So maybe we can do this kind of a practice together.
Sure.
So do you do any kind of do you develop any questions for your exams?
Absolutely.
Okay. So do you want your questions to meet the NBCRNA standards? They have some of the guidelines, what kind of the question you need to make, whether you cannot use not in the question, and some of the, the guidelines. It's a link on their webpage. It's open access, and they provide the detailed, steps, all of the requirements, all of the
NBCRNA item writing is what we're talking about.
Yes, guideline. Yes. Okay. Do you want have to meet all of these standards?
Yeah, so I guess the way I would prompt that then is write a question regarding the anesthesia machine, or write a multiple choice question regarding the anesthesia machine in accordance with the NBCRNA item writing policy. Good enough, or do I need to go further?
Yes, so before we do that, so one thing we need to really be cautious is ask yourself whether it is ethical, whether it is effective, whether it is a wise way to do that. So if you use this to create a question, so sometimes you need to think about whether it's too much and it's violate, my responsibility, and how could they determine the content, knowledge. Yeah, we can use other kind of the prompts to make it more comprehensive, but we need to be cautious about that. So maybe let's use this example. So you will create a question yourself, but you want to have an assistant to evaluate the question to make sure it's meet the NBCRNA standards. Okay, so what kind of a context you will put into the prompt?
Boy, see, here's the hesitation, because now I'm concerned about being ethical. I think that I would take that question, copy paste into the prompt, and then I think I would ask or prompt the AI to say, analyze this question in accordance with the NBCRNA item writing analysis or something similar to that.
Yeah, great. Yes. See, you already done this. It's perfect. It's perfect. So it's kind of, you have the context at the NBCRNA standards. So you maybe put a NBCRNA standards PDF, which is open access,
Great.
which everyone can use directly into the ChatGPT. But there are so much information in it. If you think some meaningful items you want to use, you can extract them before you put into it. So you extract all of these standards only. And also you can have the general AI to extract the items to determine what is the, all of the important items rather than get rid of all those examples. You can do that. So you have these as the standards. And also, if you have already you create the knowledge, you create all of the, the items, you don't need to put the text box in it. So you are okay with that.
Right.
And
so there's not a concern, a copyright concern or anything like that.
And it's open access. The standards
Great.
is open access.
Sure.
And then the next one is the action. So you want the general AI to evaluate your item to see whether it meets the standards.
So we're putting a verb in the prompt there.
Yes,
okay,
that's
great.
the action. So that's the specific verb in the prompt. What you want the assistant to do. It's like you ask, your kid to cut the grass. It's the
Right.
same thing.
Okay.
You better say when and what part of the grass. And
Now you're speaking my language.
yes,
I
there
can
we go.
definitely get there. Yes.
I would like you to take out the trash. Today, before dinner, make sure you put another bag in the can. Yeah, you
That's
have.
great.
It has taught me, prompting teaches me how to be more explicit with my grown man child. Yes.
I think that's fantastic. That's such a good analogy.
Yeah, and also you can provide a role to the assistant, to the general AI, because general AI is to create output based on your input. It's a math model. It's a statistical model. They calculate the probability of the next word based on your word, based on your context. So if we can give a role, even just expert item writer, it will help the general AI to find all of the knowledge data related to the item writer to reduce the hallucination and increase the accuracy.
That's great.
Yeah, and the last one is the expectation. So that's actually the most interesting part. So everyone might have different expectation, but you can ask general AI give you the revised question, or you can ask the AI to give you suggestions align with the standards. Not only the revised question, but I want to know the comments, suggestion align with the standards, so I can make the decision how I want to revise the question. I just want to see there are different ways I can improve the question, but I will make the final decision.
That's fantastic. That was a really good exercise. Thank you for talking me through that.
And you can tell it things like, make the question more brief.
Yes.
We tend to be wordy on questions. I don't like your third distractor. Give me a different distractor that is more plausible. I mean, that iteration is so important. And it seems to me that that's one of the things that we generally don't do enough of when you first start using AI. You're like, okay, see, I gave it instructions. I wanted one of those cool caricature diagrams that everybody's putting on Facebook, and mine didn't come out right, so I'm done. I'm out. It's not doing it. So I think, it's kind of like writing, where you assume that when you read a well-written journal article, you assume that person is a natural writer and that's
Multiple
their first or
iterations,
second
yes,
draft. What you
yes.
don't see is that there were 100 revisions from their first draft to their last. And I think that's the same with AI, where we assume that when Gary comes along and he prompts it and it does exactly what he wanted, and he gets a beautiful caricature of him and his kids and they're doing some math and it's all fun. We think that Gary he's good at it. He just loves AI. He's great at it. It does great things for him. It doesn't do it for me. But he's also been prompting for hours and hours and hours, and he iterates. And so I think it is exactly the same thing. You have to realize it's never perfect right out of the gate. And I do things like forget to tell it to give me an answer key, which is really embarrassing when you're looking at a question and going,
Not sure what
I'm
the
not
answer is.
sure what the right answer to that question is. Is this a good question or a bad? So, I think those are the little tweaks that you can say, okay, rewrite this. Okay, give me an answer key, but don't indicate them on each answer choice. Indicate them at the end in a list, and you can keep going back and forth.
That's great. And I think that comes back to your original analogy about using this as an executive assistant, or using it and speaking to it as you would a person. And Nikki, you're talking about doing the iterations of a particular task just as you would as a person, only the AI is really taking the generative piece and the time-consuming pieces of that. Go back to your caricature. As much as Gary prompted to get that, he didn't draw it.
No.
And he didn't come up with a creative idea. So I think that that's kind of interesting. You mentioned in your presentation, it's based on language. The human aspect is still there, which is also the frightening piece of it too, I think, when we start talking about the downsides, but there's still some human interaction involved in the machine learning. And it all goes back to that. If you don't like it, please make it better. Tell the generative AI how to make it better and let it make it better. I think that that's for people at my level, which is very, very amateur, I think that's good advice.
Yeah, and also I feel Gen AI can only give the high quality output based on your high quality input. For example, the context. If we do not know the NBCRNA standards or we are not familiar with that, we cannot provide the context and we cannot provide expectation, and we get the responses, we cannot make the final decision. So I think the human should be in the loop and must be in the loop. And also the Gen AI can only empower human by two ways, I feel. One way is automation. The other way is augmentation. Automation means they can reduce the time-consuming work, which we know the standards, which we know if we do that, we can do 100% same time. And we know all of the standardized process. It's repeated work. We can have the Gen AI. It's nothing we could be afraid or fearful to lose, right? Because that's something we don't want to do. It's tedious and it's repeated. If we can give these to Gen AI, save our time to be a human, so we can do more human things. Some things need our creative, some things need our critical thinking. The other thing is augmentation. That's another very, I feel, is important part. Something in the past, if I want to create a song, it's impossible. I couldn't do that because I do not have capability. If I have some good ideas, some ideas for the lyrics, I couldn't make a song. But now I can make our VCU Department of Nurse Anesthesia is a song, and it's a song for our department, and a song for our event, for our ANA Edge event. We can have a song immediately. If we have the ideas,
right.
And we know how to design. So that's really make everyone to be a designer, everyone to be a leader. So that's a unique part for the Gen AI, to empower everyone, not only those have the the knowledge about computer science. Everyone can take benefit from the AI applications.
That's great. That's a great way to put it too. Now, kind of in terms of, you guys have obviously pulled this into your curriculum. You talked about now it's a piece of the curriculum. For programs that don't have that ability or that are interested in that, do you work within resources at your institution to help with that?
Yeah, so we want to create open access resources on the AI literacy for nurse anesthesia, and we have already created a collaboration, and we applied for the funding, but we didn't get the funding.
The first time we didn't get the funding, we'll be applying again. So that's how I would reframe that. No.
It's an iteration.
But in terms of each of us, what we did, and then I'll let you kind of expand on, you've got a good chunk of that. We looked across a series of courses. We did not feel like, obviously for reasons that we have to go through curriculum committee, and it really wouldn't warrant an entire one course. We really broke it out into chunks, and we took chunks, made them into modules, and then implemented those across multiple courses that made good sense. So Gary happens to see them first, so he does a lot of the basics in terms of introducing them to what a large language model is, what is a GPT, and kind of here's the tools that are out there, and exposes them to our policy. Here's how we view this and how it should be used in our program, how it should not be used in our program, and then introduces them to specific indications. So he has a couple courses. I'll let you talk about what yours are, and then I finish it. I have a course on leadership and nurse anesthesia education, so we'll talk about the applications of AI in teaching and learning, which they've largely had an exposure to already. And then in their final year, I have a course in patient safety where it made the most sense to put a module on AI in clinical practice so that they could talk about the ways that that could improve their ability to keep patients safe. So a good chunk of it is done by the time I get them for exposure, but if you want to expand on what you do with them when they first come into the program.
Yeah, first, I think there will be 3 changes in higher education. There will be big changes with the AI technologies. The first one is something we are talking about is AI literacy development. I feel the AI literacy skills will be the essential skills for all the healthcare professionals. So, we start the kind of curriculum development. So in my course in the first year, they have the chance to learn the AI foundations. What is the mechanism behind the AI, and what it will be the best strategies you can use to interact with the AI, and what is the principles you need to have when you use the AI. So it's kind of to let them understand the AI and also to know how to use it wisely. And then in our research course, evidence-based decision-making course, so they start using the AI for different assignments. It's kind of the AI integrated assignments and also AI resistant assignments. So they can do these assignments not only for their research skills, to develop the research skills, but also when they use the AI tools, they need to provide the reflection, suggestions, critical appraisal. So this really helps them to build critical thinking skills and also AI literacy skills. So that's kind of the way we try to not add too much workload for them, but also help them to expose to AI literacy.
That's great.
I have a question for you because you've been doing this for the last couple of years, pretty much since ChatGPT came out. We've been talking about this with them. Have you noticed a change in their baseline exposure to AI before they come to us?
From the student?
Yeah, for our new admitted students. Because remember, these are still people that graduated college before 2022 in many cases now with 3 to 5 years of ICU experience. So we're still not seeing, you see them first. By the time I see them, you've already been exposing.
The funny thing is, I didn't see any changes for our students, but I see the changes in undergraduate students. When I walk in the classroom from the back end, and I see everyone has something on their screen related to the AI. So now they have the AI tool. It's not a recording, but they can transfer all of the lecture kind of the synchronously to the reading notes when they hear all of this voice. And that's something I'm thinking about, even it's not a recording, whether it's okay. And if it's part of their, function already, the glasses or the ear aid, it is part of their,
Well, programs are using even like Notability. That has a component to it already. While it may not be labeled as AI, it's definitely generative AI.
Yes, some students do not realize they are using AI. But one time when I teach the AI, they come to ask me, I have this tool. Could I put a PDF? It's like the something similar to the, Apple has the Note. So you can put a document in it, save the document. It's not an AI tool, but that one, it's same to the Note. But they can transfer the PDF or anything into a notes. So transfer the slides into an outline with the explanation. So she asked me whether this is an AI tool.
That's a yes.
Yes. She's never obviously done that on her own.
It's a note app. So it's kind of, because there are so many new apps. And that's why I feel it's the time we need to teach our students to have this AI literacy.
Sure.
So the other 2 changes I see in the higher education is, the second one is the AI tool integration in the healthcare education. Students use the AI tools widely. It's surprising to see the undergraduate students, how they use the AI tools. And also AI integration, but also for the teacher. So that will be another big part. So if we want to bring some personalized learning experience to the students, we need to use the AI tools. We need to empower our capability. That will be a trend for the future, is personalization. So everyone, like some of the presentation today is multimodal learning, maybe different learn different ways. So if we can utilize the AI functions, we might be able to provide individualization and also personalized learning experience to the students.
Boy, that's fantastic. I mean, particularly we've talked about students with certain accommodations, and being able to really tailor what you're doing to that particular student, whatever their particular accommodation is, I think is great. To kind of wrap that up, and I'm understanding you guys don't have a standalone AI literacy module, that it's more of a thread that's woven in different places. I think that's a great way to do it. Bypasses the curriculum committee, bypasses the institutional hurdles that we have many times introducing new things. I think that's fantastic. I really think that you guys are on the tip of the spear here in nurse anesthesia education. I deal with a lot in a lot of different places, and what you're doing, I think, and sharing what you're doing today is, I think, going to help a lot of people out. Hopefully a lot of people, I know the room was full when you were presenting.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll get a lot of downloads here, and there'll be a lot of information that's passed along.
Yeah, hopefully we can create some of the discussion, because there will be a paradigm shift in the higher education. It will be great if we can work together and create some of the research and education collaboration. That would be great.
For sure. And something too, Nikki, that you mentioned is we're about to see a generational shift in that. You mentioned the students that we have showing up currently did not have this, maybe even in their undergraduate, but definitely not in high school or down where your kids are learning math now, right? So when that generation gets to us, that's going to revolutionize things. I think that if you'll have to be on board, or you'll be left behind at some point.
Well, I mean, I think we know exposure quickly becomes something that is expected, and then it becomes something they feel entitled to. If we are going to, before we know it, start seeing learners that have been exposed numerous times and established a standard that personalized learning is what they expect, that is going to become the expectation for us, and we can like it or not like it.
Indeed.
Humans alone can't really do that, so we're going to need to stay ahead of that and use these tools to our advantage. So I just want to thank you again, Gary, for being here. We spend a lot of time together, but this was just a whole lot of fun to talk about this. We are really thrilled to have you on the podcast, and I hope we do get a lot of listens. And thanks everybody for joining us, and we hope you'll tune in again soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the invitation.